Welcome to this week's edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview the latest movers and shakers in the African American literary community. You'll meet some old friends, discover new ones, and stay abreast of the latest book developments around the country and even the world. So sit back and relax for the next 2 hours with Black Authors Matter TV co-hosts Gwen Richardson and Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Black Authors Matter TV, the first edition in August. I'm Gwen Richardson, your host for tonight, and my co-host, Dr. Rhonda Lawson, will be joining us shortly. She had to work a little late tonight at her 9 to 5 or whatever the hours are. So we welcome everyone to the show. If you're new, we welcome you. If you are returning and one of our repeat customers, we welcome you back. And we just returned, Ronnie and I just returned from the National Book Club Conference in Atlanta, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later after Rhonda comes on so we can both talk about it. But we had a really, really great time. It's almost like a reunion. You get to see people that you know, and then you get to meet some new people. So we have a really excellent lineup tonight, like we always do. And we are, let me see, a couple of housekeeping notes. As I said last week, the National Black Book Festival author positions, the vendor slots are sold out, and there's not a waiting list. You're welcome to come as a guest and attend, or get tickets for our special events, but we don't have any more author tables left. It's just at capacity. So, and we don't have a waiting list because we have a built-in drop-off with our when we cut it off. Is sold out for good. So, but we would love to have you attend. And then the 2027 festival is going to be our 20th anniversary. So we're really looking forward to that. So our registration opens January 1st every year. And if you want to register, the best time to do it is during the early bird registration period. So we're bringing on our first guest, and his name is Jason Green. And he has a book called Too Precious to Lose. And it's about a Black community that was developed in the 1800s. And from the information that I saw, I didn't see what state it was in. But he'll tell us. And he has a lot of other backstory and bio to share. So welcome to Black Authors Matter TV, Jason.
Gwen, it's such a pleasure to be with you. Good to see you. How are you?
Fine. And you're joining us from where?
I'm in Dallas, Texas at the moment.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm in Houston.
And so next time we'll do it in person. I'll come down and see you.
Okay. Well, that's where I live. And that's also where the National Black Book Festival is every year. I don't know if you've heard of it, but our event is in October. And we're one of the largest Black book events in the South. And this is our 19th year coming up. It's October 22nd through the 24th, that weekend.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so just go to our website and that'll give you some more information about it if you want to attend. And, we'd be happy to have you there. So first, give us a little backstory. You worked, I believe, in the Obama White House. And how did that come about?
That's right.
But I know they weren't just grabbing people off the street.
It felt that way. That's all it was. We were just filling seats, Gwen. That's all it was.
Yeah, well, it was a time where people who we didn't normally see, there were opportunities for people who weren't necessarily lifelong politicians.
That's true. I think President Obama wanted to bring a different spirit to Washington. So a lot of people came and participated that weren't lifelong public servants. I grew up in that area. I'm from Maryland, and so always sort of had an eye towards D.C. I went to law school at Yale Law School, and then joined the Obama campaign in my third year of law school. And so I became the National Voter Registration Director for the 2008 campaign. And then when we won, I worked in the White House counsel's office. So I was there for 4.5 years as associate White House counsel. And then I was on this path, Gwen. I had gone to law school. I had joined the Obama campaign. I was working in the Obama White House and was marching towards something. And I got a call from my mother that my then 95-year-old grandmother was sick and in the hospital, right? And it wasn't just any hospital, it was the same hospital that she used to take me to when I was 5 years old. And I got to watch her sit in service, late in life for some people. And so I remember going one day, like I was 5 years old. My grandmother's trying to drag me into some hospital room because she volunteered there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I'm kicking and screaming and saying, I don't want to go. I'm only 5 years old. I can't save these people. What do you want from me? And she says, Jason, we're not here to save someone. We're here to serve someone. Right. And it
Wow.
just was
Okay.
this grounding. And so imagine now I'm 4.5 years into serving President Obama. And I learned that my grandmother's uh, in that hospital room late in life, 95 years old herself. And so I realized that I'm going to go sit with her and serve her in the same way that I got to watch her serve so many other people. And then that's was the blessing of this book, to sit with her and hear her stories of radical community, the work of our ancestors to build a community in 1868 and what they had to do to preserve it and protect it. And so what I thought was going to be a 6-month period with my grandma ended up being 11 years of stories. My grandmother lived till she was 106 years old.
Oh, goodness. Bless
Yeah,
her
so,
heart.
so it was truly a blessing, but it was her stories that make up Too Precious to Lose.
Well, it's good that at 95, a lot of people aren't, mentally, the mind goes for a lot of people. And but one thing that happens if when people get older, when they have dementia, not Alzheimer's, because Alzheimer's is pretty extreme, where people don't know people, they don't even know their own children a lot of times. But with dementia, a lot of times, it's the person kind of they live in the past. They have vivid details of their early years, but if you tell them something 5 minutes later, they don't remember it.
I, I,
So,
I worried that I had waited too long. I had kind of been on this path of self-importance, right? I'd been too busy to go home. Like I grew up in Gaithersburg, Maryland, which was all of 30 miles from Washington, from the White House, right? And I hadn't been
mhm.
home in this like 6 years. But I'm very grateful that my grandmother had kept her sharp memory. And I remember at one point I was asking her, I was like, "Tell me, Grandma, what was it like to start attending school at the one-room schoolhouse that?" And she like stuttered a little bit and paused, and then she squeezed my hand and she was like, "I think it was a Thursday." It was a Thursday in 1924, and she like remembered all the vivid detail of what it was like walking to school, her first day of school at the one-room schoolhouse. So I was very blessed that she held on to the stories for me.
Wow. So, I normally have my co-host with me, and she lives and works in the DMV,
Oh,
and
beautiful.
she had to work late, and she normally checks the online for comments and things like that. So I'm looking down because I'm trying to check that myself. I'm trying to do double duty. She
Oh, good.
normally does it herself. Um, so the Pleasant View, is it in Maryland?
It is. Yep.
Okay, okay, I didn't know. Now, my co-host lives in Accokeek.
Oh yeah, also in Maryland. Yeah, so we're
Mm-hmm,
probably
yeah,
45 minutes from your co-host.
yeah. So, but she's from New Orleans, so originally, and I went to college at Georgetown. So I
Oh, yeah.
lived in DC for 6 years, four in college, and then two after, and then I ended up coming to Houston. So, and I've been here ever since then.
And there's connectivity between that Georgetown black community and this community, right? So all those communities, those free black communities that existed, Quince Orchard, Pleasant View, Georgetown, they all were in trade and in commerce, in relationship with one another. So, a number of the folks that moved out of Quince Orchard, they moved down to Georgetown, and we're part of that community. So there's
Oh,
definitely
wow.
relationships
Okay.
and interconnectivity. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, the too precious to lose, is that like a metaphor? Is it um, a phrase that your grandma said, or where did that come from?
So that site, Pleasant View, folks will read about it in Too Precious to Lose, but that's a physical site, right? That my great great grandparents founded in 1868. They and other formerly enslaved people pooled together their resources. They ended up scraping together $54, and they bought 3 acres of land. And that 3 acres is Pleasant View. And on the 3 acres, they built the church, they built the social hall, the schoolhouse, and the cemetery, right? So the life cycle to the black community. And so ever since that was established, the kind of motto for Pleasant View has been too precious to lose. That this is a
Okay.
site, this is our heritage, this is our history, and all of that together is too precious to lose.
Okay. What a lot of people who don't know the history, well, a lot of our history is kind of disjointed.
Yeah.
It's like the period between Reconstruction and civil rights doesn't get enough attention, but there was a lot of just homegrown togetherness and building of communities, black, especially in rural areas, black families stuck together. I know my parents were from North Carolina, and they both grew up in this same area that had and went to the same church.
Yep.
So they grew up in Mebane and Hillsborough, North Carolina, which are near Durham. They're really tiny towns, but they built a church. uh, my mother's mother was one of the founding members of this church called Warren's Chapel Church, and it's still. I think they celebrated their 100th year about 20 years ago.
Yep.
They still have the community hall. They the same thing you described. They have a family cemetery in the back, and both my grandparents on both sides are buried there, and my parents are buried there, and like my extended family, almost all of them are buried there.
It's exactly that story. Because some people will say, well, what's so special about your family and this community? And I'll say everything, right? Because they're my family. But at the same time, nothing, because this is so representative of
Yeah,
what black communities did coming out of the Civil War. Even in Montgomery County, Maryland. So this is in Montgomery County. People today don't think about black history in Montgomery County, Maryland, right? The demographics shifted tremendously in the early 1900s. You had white folks flock to Montgomery County, so they outpaced the black population. So people don't think that black people lived in Montgomery County, but in the middle of the 1800s, a third of the population was black, and then post emancipation, you had, like Quince Orchard, you had these free black communities that popped up all over the county. And the sort of clarion call for those communities was just what you described. There'd be a church, right? There was maybe a social hall, maybe a school
a
attached, right? But
school.
there was always a
Hmm.
church. Maybe there's a cemetery out back. And
Yeah,
so these are representative of the life cycle of black community, and so demonstrative of the way in which we built institutions, right? Like we sort of talk in shorthand about black history and the story of oppression, but really it's a story of beautiful resilience and this idea of institution building when we were barred from other institutions.
right. And also our our dollars, which were limited, were coalesced to build these
Right.
institutions. They didn't get money from white people. It was money that they put their nickels and dimes together when nickels and dimes actually were
That's something, right?
were meant something, and then they also did their own construction. They had carpenters in the community and painters, and they did their own construction. So, um, not enough attention is paid to that period.
Right.
That 100 years between 1865 and 1965 doesn't get enough attention. It's starting to get a little bit more now. I don't know if you've seen the series, The Gilded Age, that's
Mm.
in HBO. I think it's HBO. I think it's HBO. Where it's like the early 1900s, and they're educated Black people, and they're in the New York area, and how they are advancing and having their own community, but still in the building process in terms of education.
Yeah.
Um, it's a very good series, very well done. They do a good job of intertwining the Black community with the wealthy white community in New York. Um, it's worth watching if you haven't seen it.
Oh, I would absolutely check it out. And I think your point is so spot on. This story of resilience. So, like when we were doing the research for Too Precious to Lose, I mean, it's a time period that I'm kind of embarrassed to say I grew up in this community and I didn't know about it, right? Like the church, the schoolhouse, the cemetery, all of it still exists. We still go there every summer for June Fest, right? And I still didn't appreciate how much that community had to work to, as you say, scrape together their nickels and dimes to get to $54, right? To
Right,
then build these institutions and then had to keep them and had to, my great grandfather, my grandfather, they were the builders. They built, they
right.
maintained, they were the carpenters, and what
Mm-hmm.
it took to actually preserve it. Like when there wasn't public education, they also had to pay for the teacher, they had to pay for the curriculum, they had to pay for the books, they had to pay for, like, they had to support all those pieces, not just one time, but to keep them having significance in the community.
Yeah, and if you think about it, uh, they had to have gotten along. They had to have created a system of having some kind of board
Right.
or some decision makers, a way of making decisions, voting on them, not like voting at the ballot, just as a community. They had to have had decided who were the leaders and who were the followers, so to speak. Everybody can't be a chief. You have to have some Indians. And but they made it work, because if they did, it wouldn't have worked.
It was one of the things I remember being kind of surprised, right? So I'm sitting in my grandmother's hospital room and she's telling me this about 1868, just shortly after emancipation with little to no resources, and that they think it's a good idea to build this building, right, on the main drag, paint it white, and say we're educating Black children here. And I'm this like skeptical lawyer, right? I'm coming from the White House. My job is to slow things down and give risk analysis and be a paralysis by analysis type person. And so I say to my grandma, I'm like, this doesn't seem very smart. Like this doesn't seem, surely there was a less conspicuous way to go about doing all this. And my grandmother going, she cuts me off and she says, there was no public education for Black children in the community. Your great great grandparents, they looked around the community and they saw a need and they took action because they were
Yeah,
doers and doers do.
right. That's true.
It was like,
It's true.
I was like, oh wow, right? Like that's
Yeah.
what you're talking about. That's why,
Yes.
that's how all these things pop up. That's how they met the need, right? When there was just so much dearth and so much want. Like they're like, all right, what are we gonna do? Where are we gonna turn? We have to, put our children on a path to success. So we're gonna do what we can. We're gonna pull our resources together. We're gonna build. We are going to build this
Hmm.
building, right? We are going to teach until we have a professional teacher. And I feel like today, right now, we outsource some of that. We outsource the problem solving, we outsource some of the solutions. And so I think it's important to remember how personal people and how invested people were in the solutions, right? And what they were willing to sacrifice, right? Those
Yes.
nickels and dimes they had to make
Right.
sure that the solution was real.
And they also had to tamp down negativity. Nowadays, there's so when you try to do something, there's so many people who are naysayers. The naysayers are bound. Um, and most of the time, people who are negative or naysayers, they're not builders. They're not,
Right.
they just will criticize what somebody else is doing And criticism is easy. Building is what's hard. So if we just think about, they had to sacrifice by taking whatever nickels and dimes they needed for their own families, put it toward this project. They had to create a system of governance in terms
Yeah.
of a committee or a hierarchy or some kind of structure. They had to tap down negativity. And they didn't let it stop them because they built these buildings, and I believe they were probably built in a short period of time.
Yeah, they were. Well, they were, and what's crazy is that so then they had that period of time, that 100 years, right? From 1868, they established in 1968, in a wild turn of events, because a lot of those young people were doing what they were told, right? They were going and moving to DC, down into Georgetown, and they're moving to Baltimore, or they're going into the military. That small little country church didn't have the economic base to support itself. So they had fallen on hard times, and they called a meeting one night to figure out what they were going to do. So in the middle of this meeting where everybody's debating, trying to figure out which direction, to your point, there's the hierarchy and they're trying to make the decisions. The knock comes at the door. My grandmother's telling me this story from her hospital room, right? So she tells me the knock comes at the door, and the news is delivered that Dr. King has been assassinated in
Oh,
Memphis,
okay.
Tennessee. So this meeting just happened to be taking place on April 4th, 1968. What shocked me is that in order to continue to see this church exist, the congregation decides, they end up voting to merge the congregation with a white congregation, a historically white congregation that's a mile apart. So this is the Methodist Episcopal denomination. So there's another
Okay.
Methodist Episcopal church that's very proximate, and so they end up merging their congregations. They keep the building. We actually just rededicated this building a few weeks ago for its 158th, anniversary for the
Wow.
site that's been, owned by black owned for 158 years since 1868. But in this kind of remarkable move of self determination, they ended up merging their congregation with this historically white congregation, and then, from what I found amazing, had to begin the work of binding these congregations together. Like, what's the worship style going to be? Who's going to sing? Who's going to lead? Do we desegregate the sanctuary? How, like, all of those deep, difficult questions when you try and bring together histories, cultures, and identities, these churches had to figure out in 1968.
Wow. So is it still an integrated
It's
congregation?
still an integrated congregation 58 years later.
Wow, wow, that's amazing.
It's
We don't get to hear enough of these kind of success stories.
mm,
And because a lot of people think that every black church that was built after Reconstruction was burned down by by night riders and things like that.
right, right.
That's not the case. Some were, but not all of them. And the black church has really been the foundation, the institution that has withstood the test of time since Reconstruction. It's built schools and educated children, done social work, feeding the hungry, those kinds of things that it's been doing since then. And it is the core, even though there's some challenges, I would say some methods of preaching or teaching have taken the focus off community service,
Mm.
but it still is the core institution in our communities that survived integration, because a lot of institutions did not survive integration.
I think that's such an important point, that integration, whether intentionally or unintentionally, just evaporated so many black institutions. And that's
Yeah.
something I talk about in the book because I'm looking back, in this place. So the place that I grew up in is the same place that my father grew up in, is the same place that my grandmother grew up in, right? So we have a history in this single place. And as I'm learning about Quince Orchard and Pleasant View, and I'm learning about, the solidarity that existed in this black community, I'm learning about the solidarity, despite the oppression and wrongs of Jim Crow, I'm learning about the joy and uplift that happened in church, and the joy and uplift that happened in that one room schoolhouse. And I'm lamenting the experiences that I had, in an integrated school and in an integrated church, and longing for this solid, not longing for segregation, but longing for those feelings of belonging and being seen and loved that the black community existed in that time period, right? And so some of that had to get, some of that eroded. And so it also speaks to the importance of those kinds of places. It's why Pleasant View, 158 years later, is still so important to have these places, right, of affinity where you can go and feel and sit with the ancestors and like look back on 158 years of receipts like I did, to just remember where we've come from, and also have a place to like commune and conspire and like truly sit in sanctuary to like get the energy to go back out and fight for another day. And so, yeah, I think we also forget that the black church has played this tremendous movement building role,
Yes,
like
the civil rights
organizing role.
movement was organized by the
The
Black
black church.
church.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thousand
and
percent.
that's where the meetings were held. That's who organized the Montgomery bus boycott. That was really the most successful economic boycott. Um, I would say in history, in our history, because a lot of people don't. It lasted more than a year,
Right.
and a lot of people are not aware of that. But um, we didn't ask you to show a copy of your book so we could see the cover, because
Oh,
we're
yes.
almost out of time. And
This right here is too
okay,
precious to lose. I
okay, and
encourage
that's the picture
everyone.
of the church there on the top part.
So the top, these are two streets. This is the intersection where I happen to grow up. So part of what this story is significant is because my family was one of the last black farming families in this community. We're a rural community. I grew up next to my grandfather's pig farm, and my school bus would get stuck in traffic behind my granddaddy's tractor. That, and so this little dirt road is the dirt road I grew up on.
Oh,
So
okay, okay,
wanted people to appreciate that history. But the book is available, so anyone can sort of be in touch with me at jasongreenbook.com, and Too Precious to Lose is wherever books are sold. My publisher is Penguin Random House, but you can folks
okay.
can engage the book, and I hope they do, and leave a comment, leave a review, but be in conversation about what I really want people to do with this book is answer that question, right, for themselves. What is too precious to lose? And when the necessary follow-up question is, and then what are we willing to give to preserve it, right? Whatever we decide is too precious to lose, that's our responsibility.
And you've also sort of opened the door for people to talk to their own family members, their parents and grandparents if they're living.
Amen.
Even when older people they have memory issues, but if even with dementia, they remember the past. They can give you details about it. I know my dad, before he died, he had dementia, and the present was like on endless loop, but he could give you details on the 40s and the 50s and the 60s and 70s. He could give you details, people's names, places. He could remember all of that. So it's a good idea to collect that information, even if you
Absolutely.
don't turn it into a book, but just so you have it to pass down to your own children.
I was going to give everyone the pass. You don't have to write a book, but it's so good to have, and you don't even have to do it just for your family. My grandfather passed away before this project ever began, but someone at the church had thought enough of him and his story to sit down with him and record him for an hour. And so I got to sit with those tapes. And so when I talk about my grandfather in this book, it's because someone who wasn't even related to him sat down and recorded. And so you can do that. Even if your own family has passed on, sit down with someone else and give the gift of history and memory.
Okay, well, thanks so much for being a guest on the show. Congratulations on your book. And is this your first book?
This is my first book, yes.
Okay, well, congratulations on writing your first book, and spread the word. Let people know about it.
Thank you, Gwen. Such a pleasure to be with you. Appreciate
Oh,
you.
okay. Thanks for being on the show.
All right. God bless.
Bye bye. Okay, for those of you who are just joining us or joined us late, um, that was our first guest, Jason Green, in his book Too Precious to Lose. Rhonda will be on. She had to work late, and she said she would sign on as soon as she was done in her work meeting. So our next guest is not a stranger to the show, but it's been a while since she's been on, and that's Tanisha Stewart. I looked up when she was on. I think it's been 3 years since she's been on the show. You know, when you've had a show that's 6 years old like ours, and we recently celebrated our sixth anniversary, um, people can be repeat guests, but they may not have been on for a while. It looks like she's joining us from her car.
Yeah,
So
I'm running a little behind schedule.
whatever works. One time I had to do the show from my car when we had the deep freeze here, and that's what
Uh-huh.
we call it in Houston because we don't get really cold weather. It was like the second year of the show, and the power was out, and I had to go in the car to charge my phone in order to do the show. Whatever you need to do to make it work. But welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you for having me. I'm in a drive-through line, so I may have to like cut out for like
Uh,
a few seconds. But
to give you, have you given your order yet?
I gave my order, but today would be the day that they want to take 15 minutes. So I'm like, look, I got an interview. I got two choices to make.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time and making it a priority to log on. So,
Absolutely.
if you have to like pause for a minute, that's fine. But
Mhm.
I know you have probably, maybe your most successful work
Uh-huh.
is your Red series.
Oh yeah, everybody's loving the Red series. 1 second.
Okay. All
I
right.
finally made it to the window. One
You finally
second.
okay. So we'll wait on you. Tanisha is in her car in a drive-through line, and she's getting her order. She's at the window getting her order because sometimes you run out of time. But I can appreciate her making her interview a priority, and because this show's live, so if someone doesn't show, we just have dead time, and because Rhonda's not on yet, I can't talk to myself for 30 minutes. So I'm glad that she is taking the time, but she has several books and eight her 8 part, I think it's 8 parts to her Red series, and it's very interesting. They're one word titles, or the titles are all like a person, not a
I'm back.
name of a person. Okay, you're back. So I was talking about your Red series, and that the
Uh-huh.
titles are all uh, a person or a character, not their name, but uh,
Absolutely.
their job or what they do. So first, let's go back to you and your writing, and how long have you been publishing books?
Well, I've been publishing books since 2016, so this is actually my 10th year this year. So
Okay, okay.
been a
And
while.
are you a self-published, a hybrid, or traditional?
I am self-published.
Oh, okay. So all of your books are self-published.
Yep.
Now, have you ever sought a traditional book deal? Have you ever
Um,
go down that
no,
path?
I was never interested in traditional publishing because I always wanted to have full creative control and full reign over everything. So I was never really interested in a traditional publishing deal. I might do one in the future, maybe for one or two books, but I would never want to be like a full-time traditional author. I prefer to be indie.
Okay, and I'm independent as well. I don't have as many books as you, but I have 15 titles, and I don't.
Hey,
Well,
okay.
the 16th one, I just got my edits back, so my
Uh,
16th book should be out in a month or so. Um,
Congratulations.
yeah, well, thank you. And I do all genres. So um,
Mm.
I got children's books. I have, self-help, how to. I've got 2 novels. This is a sequel, part one and part two. The
Cool.
book that's coming out in a month or so is how to plan a book event without losing your mind or going broke.
I need that one. I need that one.
So, because we've been doing the National Black Book Festival for 19 years. And then also doing this show, we've interviewed the facilitators for most of the book events. So, and when people come to our event, they always will say, a lot of people will say, well, I'd like to do something like this in my community. And, how do I go about doing it? And that's a big question. And so I answered that in the book. And there's really the how to, and whether or not a person has the assets to even do it, because not everybody can put on a book event. It's not easy. It may
Very, very
seem easy, but
taxing.
it's not easy at all. It's very costly. It's not easy, and it's very costly. So that's why I said how to plan it without losing your mind or going broke.
Absolutely.
So yeah. So how many books do you have under your umbrella so far?
I checked, and it was like 83 or 84 or something like that.
Wow. So you've done all of that in 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
So are you writing
Absolutely.
full time?
Well, I earn a full-time income writing, but I also don't like that's not the only thing I do. So I teach psychology at a few different schools, and I also make music.
Oh, okay. And when you say you make music, what be more specific?
So I'm a rap artist and a spoken word artist.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, I won't ask you to do any of the rhyming or rapping on the show, although you may want to do it like it was at the end of the interview as you're exiting, you may want to do a little something. But do you sell your music and your spoken word on Spotify, or what do you do?
Mhm. Absolutely. So I'm on all streaming platforms as Niche Santiago. So you can see my first album on there. You can see a few singles. I also have my website and merch and all of the above.
Oh, it sounds like you're busy then, because that's a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
books to write in 10 years. That's a lot of
Hmm.
stories to tell.
Oh yeah.
So
Plenty more coming, hopefully.
plenty more coming. Okay, so tell us about the Red series. That's the 8-part series. I noticed all the covers had a red,
Mhm.
background. And tell us about book one is what's book one?
The Deadbeat.
Okay. Okay. And did you start off by saying, I'm going to do 8 parts, or did you do one book and then you kept going and you kept adding?
So I wanted to write a series, like a standalone thriller series, because I had seen like a lot of other authors do that. And also I like to experiment with different types of thrillers. So the opportunity arose when I was part of this book club, and they had a Freestyle Friday challenge where they like basically let your creativity fly. And the Deadbeat came from that. So I was like, all right. That was after I had like a drought. I hadn't put out a book in a couple of months. So I was like, okay, I'm back. I'm back on fire. So the first 4 books came out in 2024, I believe. And then the other 4 books came out in 2025. And then that finished the 8-book series. But they're all like different types of thrillers. Each one is a standalone. All the stories are different from one another. You can read them in any order. So whatever titles
Okay.
intrigue you first, grab that one and then go on to the next.
Okay. So I think one was it the babysitter? Yeah, one of the babysitter.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I'm trying to remember what the other ones I saw were. But can you rattle them all off? Can you?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
so book 1 is the deadbeat, book 2 is the student, book 3 is the patient, book 4 is the bridesmaid, book 5 is the hitchhiker, book 6 is the babysitter, book 7 is the neighbor, and book 8 is the trainer.
Okay. All right. Wow. So are all of your books like mystery thrillers, or do you cross genres?
So I have 4 different pen names and I write in multiple genres. So I've written everything
Mhm.
from Christian fiction, nonfiction, YA, urban. I write a little bit of everything.
Oh, okay. So you have 4 pseudonyms.
Mm-hmm.
And now is Tanisha Stewart your actual given name?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the other names are now. Do you tell your other names, or you like to keep them
Oh
under
yeah.
wraps?
No,
Okay.
no, I tell them all. I have them all. They're all a conglomerate basically. So I have For the Christian fiction is Nice Santiago. That's also my rap name.
Okay.
Then I have Daisy Savage, which is like the urban romance, urban fiction. And then I have Nisha, which is contemporary romance.
Okay, I've seen the Daisy Savage.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
seen that, but I didn't know it was you.
Oh, yeah.
So what keeps you motivated to write all these stories, and where do they come from? Like, where do you get your motivation from?
Life. So I see stories literally everywhere. Like every situation, whether I've been through it or somebody else I know has been through it, or I've seen something on the news or whatever. Like stories just literally come to me out of any situation that could possibly be. Basically, conversation, all of the above.
Okay, and your books are, what's the average length in terms of page count
They
or
range, and
word
that,
count?
I did that on purpose because I like to do something for everybody. So I have some stories that are like only 10,000 words or so, and then my longest one is like 90,000 words. So they range in size, and I try to do that on purpose for people who are on the go or for people who want like a longer read.
Oh, okay. So what is your typical day like, as because you pumping out all these books? So are you a morning writer? Are you a night writer? Are you like daytime? How do you
Mhm.
how do you how do you organize your day to make sure that your books keep coming?
Well, for me, my life is quite chaotic, as you can see. So I'm always everywhere at all times, basically. So I prefer to write in the morning and in the daytime, but reality, I could just have to get it in where I could fit it in, basically.
Okay, so uh, you are you averaging 4 books a year or more than that? I'm trying to think. It has
Um,
to be more than that because you 10 years you've done 80, so that's 8 books. But I
mhm.
know they probably don't necessarily fall. You might have some years where you do more or less or whatever. Are
Yeah,
you would you
some years were definitely more than others.
okay?
Mhm.
So do you say, okay, this year I'm gonna write X number of books, or
Mhm.
how do you decide how these books are going to be released?
So I tell myself that what I'm gonna do for the year, but what actually happens, I have to find out that during the year. Like for instance, this year I had a goal. I was gonna put out like 10 books or something like that. This year I only have had like maybe 4 releases so far, I think. So
Well, you still
so
have what,
I don't
9
think I'm gonna
months to
make it to 10.
go?
I mean I could just get a tsunami of words that just fall upon me or something, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So what's your newest book?
My newest book is called Finders Keepers. So it's a psychological thriller. It's like a cat and mouse type of thing. It's about a guy who finds some money in his apartment building. And he's like, oh, what should I do? There's nobody around. He takes the money, spends it, and then all hell breaks loose.
Oh, okay. That's a common story. In movies and TV. What did I just recently watch? Well, it's been. See, I saw in Fargo, the movie Fargo, a plane
Mm-hmm.
crashes and they find a bunch of money, like millions
Mm-hmm.
of dollars. It's drug money, and they
Mm-hmm.
decide to. Have you seen Fargo the movie?
Mm-mm.
It's set in Minnesota, but they decide it's is it three friends? It's Bill Paxton, the actor Bill Paxton. He passed away, but
Mm-hmm.
he was in a lot of films. But his Billy Bob Thornton plays his brother, who's
Mm-hmm.
mentally challenged brother, and then their friend. So the three of them find this money, and I think it's millions of dollars, and
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to keep it. You know, they always say we're not gonna spend it, uh, but it's hard to sit on that kind of money. And then
Absolutely.
they had to decide one person was going to keep it, but then the other ones got mad. And well, one, his mentally challenged brother he would just do stupid stuff. Billy Bob Thornton played a really good mentally challenged brother. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, if you haven't seen Fargo, is it Fargo? No, is it Fargo? No, Fargo is a different movie.
Mm-hmm.
The one I'm thinking about, they're both like in Minnesota. That's why I got them mixed up. A Simple Plan. That's the
Okay.
one with the money in the plane crash. Fargo is different money. It is a money thing too in that one. Somebody kidnaps. Uh, he had some guys kidnap his wife for ransom.
Uh-oh.
That goes badly. So he
That's
tries
not
to
fun.
get money from the father-in-law, and the whole thing just is one big mess up. So anytime there's money found, it can go badly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's
So what do
always
you?
somebody crazy.
Yeah, and it's hard to sit on money. Even if in your
Mm,
mind you say, okay, I'm not going to spend it because it would be a red flag for the authorities if they're looking for it. But it's hard. It's hard to do that, to sit on money. So
absolutely.
what are you working on now?
So right now I'm working on book 5 of the Asylum series. It's a collaborative series with myself and author Tony LaRue. So the books 5 and 6 are going to be the finales of the series.
Okay, so you do collaborations too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, you're all over the place. Now, have any, have any of your books like won awards or anything like that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. A lot of them have won awards, and they've also been recommended reading for youth and incarcerated youth. Recommended readings for high school students. So
Okay.
book clubs in other countries have chosen my books. All that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's really great.
Hmm.
So, your next project, now the one that you mentioned, is it finished or you still working on
The politician that's still work. I'm still working on that one.
it? Okay. Now, how do you come up with your titles? When you have that many books,
Hmm.
how do you come up with your titles?
Well, sometimes the title is the first thing that comes to me. But other times, like I'm writing the story and then the title comes. So it really goes back and forth.
Okay. Yeah, see, my title is always first.
Okay.
I know the title before I even start writing because the title is what I use to move me forward with research or whatever. And so
Absolutely.
it's always first for me. But other people, people have different writing styles and things that motivate them. So
Absolutely.
you never know. Every writer has their own methods and of doing things. And
Hmm.
when you have that many books, now do you do your who does your covers? Or do
So I
covers?
have different cover designers, and I also have designed some of them myself. So it depends on the book basically.
Oh wow! So you're multi-talented. You do your rapper, you do a writer with 4 different pseudonyms. You do spoken word, and you can do cover art.
a,
That's
a
not,
little a
this
little bit.
a little bit. That's not common to have both of those. It's kind of left brain, right brain
Mm,
skills, skill set.
mm,
Because I'm not creative like with graphics, but I know what looks good. So I
mm.
hire people to do that. But if I tried to do my own cover, I wouldn't even attempt it. It would look sad. It would
Yeah.
look
And for
sad.
me, it's a hit or miss. Sometimes it'll
Okay.
be a hit, and I'll be able to put it out. Most of the time, it's like, no, I'm gonna need to hire somebody.
Okay. Yeah. I I wouldn't want the pressure on me for that. I'd rather just say,
Mm,
okay, this is what I want. And then when they do they give me a couple of options. And then I say, okay, I like this, but let's tweak this. Let's make a change here, that kind of thing.
mm,
So if somebody was planning to have a career doing self-publishing books, what advice
mm.
would you give?
I would say read heavily in the genre that you want to write in, and even down to the subgenre, because a lot of times, people will have an idea in their mind of how they want a story to go, but sometimes if we don't know what readers' expectations are of a certain genre, then we might miss the mark in terms of their expectations. So try to read in the genre, look at reviews of popular books in the genre. Also have a sales strategy, a marketing strategy for how you want your books to come out. And I would recommend having a couple of, well, if you want to be prolific, I would recommend having a couple of books written before you even start so that you'll have breathing room as you release books. And also not letting fears, doubts, or insecurities stop your process. Just get your book out because you got something to say.
Okay, now do you have an editor that edits your books, or what types of editors do you use? Because I know traditional publishers, there's like content editors, copy editors. This
Mm.
seems like there's another one. Uh, but what do you do in terms of that? And how much latitude do you give them in terms of your story, content?
So I've done all of the above. I've had it to where I had, content editor, copy editor, proofreader, all of the above. Nowadays I mainly either have an alpha reader, which is not really an editor, or I'll have somebody do developmental editing. But I think for some future books, I might try to get a copy editor as well, just to help me sharpen up the sentence structure and things like that, use more vivid words and things like that. So it really depends on what your goals are as an author.
Okay. Yeah, I spent many years editing myself. So
Mm-hmm.
but no one should edit their own work. And although I do edit my work before I give it to the editor. So I try to
Mm-hmm.
give it to the editor as close to perfection as possible. And I just use
Absolutely.
basically a copy editor slash proofreader to make sure
Mm.
I'm using the right commas. One thing because I just got my edits back
Mm.
over the weekend, the using who and that, I always am challenged with whether to use the word who or that.
Mm.
Um, and that's something, and there's a rule for it, but I can't remember what it is. And I really should look it up when I'm
Mm.
writing, but I don't. I just write it because I know she'll fix it. I know she'll correct whatever it is. But and I've been working with the same person for a long time, for my last like 8 books. So she's very good. I never met her in person, but it's amazing that before the internet, people had to do a whole lot of other types of things. Just
Mm.
just getting your work edited now is just sending an email with an attachment. But before
Mm.
the internet, you had to actually print it out, mail the whole manuscript, and then they would
Wow.
edit it, and then they would send it back to you. Because when I was doing some book editing for a publisher, they sent me the hard copy, and then
Mm.
I would do the edits, and then I would ship it back to them. So that's been when I did it. It was maybe 15 years ago when I was doing that. But it's so much more, and people couldn't do, you know, ebooks weren't prolific like they are now. So everything
Mm.
was either paperback or hardcover. So and the audiobook was non-existent. So
Mm.
there's so much
Mm.
more. Now, are your books on audiobook?
Yep, I have 56 audiobooks out, and I'm working on getting all of my backlist in audio.
Oh, do you find that in terms of do you publish through KDP or do you use some other
Hmm.
system?
I
So
use KDP. Except for my website exclusives, I do Barnes and Noble for those.
okay. So do you find that your paper, your hardcovers or your ebooks or your audios, which one generates the most revenue for you?
The audiobooks because
Really?
those go
Okay.
crazy. Absolutely. So in terms of like percentage wise, they're probably somewhat even across the board, but in terms of income, the audiobooks definitely 100% get the highest revenue.
Oh, okay. Why is that?
Because the way that
Is it the way they
the
pay for the
yeah,
for
it's the way that they pay. Like Audible it has a similar structure to Kindle Unlimited, but however they work them numbers out, it ends up being a whole lot more for me. And that would be different
Okay.
for different authors, but for me it ends up being a whole lot more.
Okay. So do you narrate your own books or you have a narrator? How do you do it?
Oh no, I hired different narrators. So I've had several different narrators that I've been working with over the years.
Okay.
And I did like one little cameo performance in one of my books, but I never did one that I put out all by myself.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I'm learning some stuff, myself. Because we
Mm,
have we have authors of all varieties of authors. In fact, our we are approaching our 900th guest on
hey, okay.
been on the show. Not 900 interviews, 900 guests. Like this interview doesn't count as a in the numbers
Mm,
because you've been on the show before. So
mm,
when you interview 900, and not all of them are authors, but I would say 90% are authors, and the others are different roles: book clubs, bookstores, marketers, some even award presenters. We
mm,
anybody in the book industry, um, we have them on the show if they can lend some new information or a different way of
mm.
looking at things, or they're putting out a new release. We'd like to help the authors sell more books. That's part of why we do the show, to increase sales.
Absolutely.
But that's interesting about the audiobook thing. I don't I've never had my books narrated. I'm thinking about doing it. But I was part of
Definitely
the
try it.
beta study. Uh, well, the beta thing that Amazon did, the KDP did,
Mm,
but I haven't listened to. I don't. I'm scared to listen to my books on audio because it's probably AI, and
oh
it's
yeah.
going to
Yeah, the
be
virtual voice.
yeah, it's probably going to be a disappointment. so so I need to get my at least my two novels narrated because they're really good, if I should say so myself. And I have really great reviews for all my books, but I have the most reviews of my novels because more people read fiction.
Mhm.
So what do you see for yourself over the coming next year or two?
Next year or two, I'm gonna, as far as like my author career, I plan to be more strategic about like how I release, when I release, what types of releases, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm developing a strategy for each one of my pen names, and I'm excited to see how it unfolds.
Oh, okay. Well, you have to plan because
Mm,
you can't just things don't just happen. We
mm,
have to plan them, and not all plans work, but you
right.
hope that even if you get like your plan works 80%, that's pretty good. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So um how many more books do you think you'll write, or is there no limit to what Tanisha can do in terms of writing stories?
For me, I don't really have a limit. I'll just, when the stories stop coming to me, I guess that's when I'll stop. But hopefully they keep coming because life is crazy.
Yeah, and well, yeah, the more you have out, you still have residual royalties. Because somebody's on, my first book came out in 2000 and December of 2007, and it still sells, even though I don't promote it at all. So
Absolutely.
it's still
Absolutely.
revenue, it's still income. So Tanisha, thank you so much, and thank you for taking the time to join us, even though we're really, really busy. And I hope your to-go order didn't get too cold. And
I don't think so.
okay. So thanks again, and really congratulations on all that you're doing. You gave me some things to shoot for, so it's very encouraging.
Thank you and congratulations on approaching your 900th interview.
Okay, well, thank you. It's been interesting. It's been an interesting ride. And Rhonda and I haven't figured out yet how long we're going to do the show because
Mm,
we don't want to be too old trying to do uh, this, but we really love it. So we'll see.
absolutely.
Okay, well, have a great night. Thank you so much.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, bye bye.
Goodbye.
All right, that was Tanisha Stewart, and she also writes under three other names, um, pen names. So she is a prolific writer. She says she has 80 titles, and all of them are self-published. Good for her. So our next guest is new to the show, Lucas Johnson, and he has a new book out. It's Lucas L. Johnson, but he has a new book out, and it's called Remembering Roots. And it's about the show Roots. And I wanted to show him my copy that I got because the subhead is How an American Classic Transformed the World. And I got my own copy. I haven't gotten a chance to get into it other than reading I think I read the first, because there were two like forwards, and I read the first one. But welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And I always tell people, because we've discussed roots on this show,
Mm.
to varying, because of in different circumstances, it'll come up in conversation. And my co-host is joining us now, so she was able to join us a little later than we
Yeah.
wanted her to, but we love her when she comes on. She has a full-time job, so sometimes she has to do that. You have to have your priorities in order.
Yes, ma'am. I totally understand.
And
Yeah.
I don't know what I did with myself. I think I moved my picture when I admitted you, Rhonda. I moved myself over to the side. I
Oh
didn't
yeah,
even know.
it
I
moves
didn't even.
around like
I
that.
didn't even know that was possible. So anyway, the
Mhm.
show is live, Lucas. So anyway, I
Hi,
I
Lucas.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm wonderful.
Good.
yeah, I mentioned on the show. I've mentioned it a number of times. Roots, in my opinion, is the definitive work on showing our history, um, from slavery, but before slavery, and through those years, 100 or so years, I think it
Mhm.
covers.
Mhm.
After that, there hasn't been anything else produced that, for one thing, a lot of people, if you're young, or I say if you're under 50, or maybe you don't have really a knowledge of roots, but
Mhm.
a it was a major event at the time it was shown. So tell us, Lucas, what made you write this book?
Well, I knew the 50th anniversary was coming up, and I just felt like I had to do something. And actually, I when I was with the Associated Press, I did a story on Alex Haley's childhood friend, and Alex Haley had actually planned to write a book about him, but he died before getting started. And Fred Montgomery was the man's name, and he was the curator of the Alex Haley Museum, but he was also the mayor of Henning, Tennessee, the first black mayor of Henning, Tennessee.
Oh,
A
okay.
phenomenal man. And so I did a tour of the museum, did a story about him, and he told me that Alex Haley had planned to write this book and asked me if I would complete it. And I told him, let me think about it. And I got back to him, and I ended up writing. And that book was called Finding the Good, that came out a number of years ago. But that's how I first kind of found out more about Alex Haley. I'd heard about him, but it wasn't until I met Mr. Montgomery, who grew up with Alex Haley, that he gave me more details about him. And then I saw Roots, and it just, it always stayed with me. And then I saw it again, Roots: The Next Generation, as well
Mm.
as the remake that came out in 2016. But it was that original miniseries, of course, starring LeVar Burton and Ben Vereen as Chicken George, that made those characters that people just don't forget. And I again knew that the anniversary was coming up for both. And so I just had to do something. And so I thought the best way to pay tribute to the book would be to get commentary from various people from different walks of life, educators, scholars, and some of the original cast members of Roots that I was fortunate to get in contact with, like LeVar Burton and like Ben Vereen. And so it just kind of, came together from that.
Oh,
What
wow.
did you um just very quick side question. What did you think of the remake?
Honestly, okay, and I interviewed Mark Walper, who was the son of David Walper. He was the one that actually remade it. I didn't think it was as good as the first one, to be quite honest. Enjoyed seeing the different characters, like Forrest Whitaker playing Fiddler, but he wasn't Louis Gossett Jr., who played the original Fiddler.
Yeah,
You
well,
just,
I kind of feel like the first one had more of the heart But I
Mhm.
did enjoy that they wanted to be more historically accurate,
Yeah.
the second one. So I did enjoy that piece of it. But you're right. I grew up on the original
Uh-huh.
root, and that
Yeah.
one's always going to have my heart. But I still did have an affinity for the second one.
Yeah, and I was glad that when I interviewed Mark, he was saying it took him the longest to do the remake. People were asking him, like, when are you going to do a remake of Roots? And he just was like, how can you remake something that great? But then he felt like after his kids saw it and he talked to them about it, he realized that he should do something for a newer generation. And so to do
Yeah.
that, he got, newer characters. And I think they did try to take a different approach, a little bit from the original and to be more, I guess to try to relate to a younger generation. But again, I still like the first one and the next
Oh,
generation. But I commend them
absolutely.
for doing what they did.
I agree. And I live in Maryland.
Okay.
So one of my favorite things to do is to go to Annapolis and see the Alex Haley Kunta Kinte Memorial. It's
Okay.
absolutely beautiful. The statue, it's kind of
Yeah.
almost, and I'm sure you've probably been there, but it's the walk. And there are
Mhm.
little plaques with different sayings or different quotes from the movie, or actually, I believe from the book,
Yeah.
all the way up to Alex Haley's statue, where it looks like he's reading a story to three children. And then if you look closely at the children, they're all different nationalities.
Wow. Yeah, that
Yeah,
is
so
cool.
and it's right on Annapolis Harbor, where Roots took place,
Hmm.
basically, or where it started. So that's one of my favorite things to do. Whenever somebody comes to visit, I say we're going to Annapolis because we have to see this.
Here's Alex Haley, I mean Bill Haley Jr. Actually, I just communicated with him not too long ago. He's headed to Annapolis in the morning because he's sponsoring a bus tour there. And they're
Wow. Okay.
taking people on to different locations related to Alex Haley.
Oh, that's going to
And
be
I think it's the Alex Haley Foundation that's sponsoring it. But yeah, it's I think it kicks off this weekend.
Oh, is it the Kunta Kinte Foundation? Because
What the Kunta Kinte Foundation, I
yes,
believe
because
that's it. Yeah.
there's also a huge festival. I'm saying huge, but there's a festival they do in Annapolis
Yeah.
every year, the Kunta Kinte Festival.
Yeah. I think this is tied to that in some
Okay.
capacity. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm sure it's quite an experience to be able to continue to tell this story though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitive. It is the definitive work. I would, in a way, it makes me somewhat sad that no one's ever really tried to do something else along those same lines because
Mhm.
that's one person's story, although it's representative of
Yeah.
many stories. But I don't even know if it could be done because it was a mini series. It came on for a whole week,
Yeah.
every night for a week,
And we
and
all sat
one
right in front of that
segment,
TV.
and
Hmm.
it was like a national event, you
Yeah.
know.
I think what
Um,
made it so unique is that nobody had ever done anything to show the transition from
right.
Africa and the adaptation that took place in America. And that's what Alex Haley really did. And he, through the story of his family, which, so many, all Black people can relate to. And,
Yeah.
and you just saw that vividly for the first time. You saw slavery, you may have read about it, but you saw it for the first time through these characters. And they were just the actors too were just so good that you could immediately identify with them, like in the whipping scene as it's been, coined now, when Kunta
Yeah.
is whipped, people resonate with that. When he gets his foot chopped off, you remember that when Kizzy is taken away from her, mother and father, you
Yeah.
know, you identify with that, you just don't forget.
Yeah, and it reminds, and I tell people, if we were born 150 years ago, our children could be taken from us.
Mhm.
Just the idea that your child could be
Yeah,
taken from you and you never see them again. You don't know what happened to them. Um,
yeah.
but they're probably living the same nightmare you are, just on a different plantation.
And I
And
think
so,
that's, go ahead, I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead, Lucas.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's what makes Roots so relevant today because of the things that are happening in America. It's, the DEI, the dialing back, the, erasing of history, which makes
Right.
roots so important right now. Like here in Tennessee, Knox County, Tennessee, where Alex Haley actually made his home as an adult, they banned the book from libraries. But the superintendent, after about 2 weeks of backlash from across the country, he reversed it, and so now the book is back. You can get it in the libraries now in
Well,
Knox County. But what's so ironic is that in 2024, Tennessee lawmakers, in a Republican state, made Roots an official state book. But so you're going to abandon in Knox County and it's across Tennessee as an official state book. And they had good reason, but just for the reason that you and I know that
yes.
it's one of the main lawmaker who sponsored the bill called it a masterpiece and said
Mhm.
that Alex Haley was a native son and there's no way that we could not, recognize him and Roots.
Right. There's no way to not acknowledge that in Tennessee, where they ended up going.
Yeah.
So, and it's there, and you were right about the acting was just so good.
Yes.
The casting was perfect. I don't know who did the casting. I know it's in the credits somewhere,
Yeah.
but each person's role was just spot on.
Hmm.
And the white characters were at the time, so a lot of the people who were in it
Yeah.
were actors who were normally beloved.
Yeah, like Lauren Green with Bonanza, and can't remember the man's name from the
Chuck
Brady Bunch.
Connors, Chuck
Yeah,
Connors.
yeah,
Oh, Reed. I think Reed is the guy from the Brady Bunch.
yeah, yeah,
He
yeah. So
played the I forgot the role he played, but he sold Kizzy.
yeah,
So
and then
he
and
was
then of course you had Ed Asner who
yes,
who played the captain on
of the ship.
the Ligonier. Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, and so and these people were all actors who played roles where they were beloved. I mean, the
exactly.
guy who was on the ship, I can't call his name, but he was the father in the Waltons.
Yeah, I remember him.
I
And
can't.
ABC did that on purpose. You're probably aware of this because they didn't think that many people would watch. So to make sure that people did watch, they incorporated these white characters that, as you say, are beloved, you know.
Yeah, and they played dastardly people.
Mhm.
And Sandy Duncan, who played Missy Ann,
Yeah,
she I saw an interview with her, and she said for years she couldn't get work
yeah.
because people hated her for turning her back on Kizzy. They
There's a
they
really
really took that role.
Yes, there's a really strong testimony. I got commentary from various people just speaking candidly about how Roots impacted them. And there's one that I got from her where she's talking about growing up and, you know, s- being called a nigger lover because of the way that she embraced, um, you know, she was against racism where she grew up, but
Mhm.
she was, looked at, in a bad way because of that. And she talks about that experience, very candidly.
It's amazing how certain roles can shape you. Um, and people will always see you in that role, no matter what roles you play after
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
But while we were talking about actors, I was looking and I saw that LeVar Burton had given you a review.
Oh, did he?
But I think you had put it on the information sheet. There was a
Well, no, he gave me a blurb.
oh yeah, a blurb.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes.
The blurb is on the book. Okay, I thought you meant another one. No,
No, no, no,
I haven't
no.
been keeping up with everything. I have to say, I will say this. You asked me initially why I did this. There were three people that I knew I had to get in contact with. And probably the first one was Alex Haley's grandson, Bill Haley Jr. And then the other one was LeVar Burton. And after several months, I was able to finally get him. And we talked for almost an hour. He was very gracious in answering every question that I had to ask. And I really, because he really helped make the book because he's Kunta Kinte. And
Yeah.
the other person was this gentleman named Michael P. Hearn, who wrote a piece in the New York Times back in 2021 for the centennial of Alex Haley's birthday. But he was a student of Alex Haley when Alex Haley lectured at Hamilton College back in 1968. And so he's now in his 70s, but he talks very vividly of what it was like being a student of Alex Haley and how Alex Haley kind of basically took him under his wing and he
Wow.
became the author that he is now. He's written several books of annotated versions of The Wizard of Oz, but he was the other person. And so when I got these individuals and that started listening to their stories, it kind of motivated me to really want to go after other people. And then I started getting, responses from other people, both, in Hollywood as well as, people from all walks of life. And just their stories of how roots, like you were talking about, and being in the front room with the family in front of that big screen TV and just, watching for 7, 8 nights and then having commentary, having discussion about it afterward. And then what things were like at school the next day, what things were like at work the next day, how people were acting, maybe white people were kind of standoffish, black people were a little more proud,
Like,
you know,
like make a fist.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And and there were all kind of there were fights that broke out at certain places. I mean, at one school, and I was talking to this one person who lived in Detroit or near Detroit, the white kids they couldn't go to school for a while. I think for a few days. Somehow they kind of they shut things down or did something to because it was just some violence after that. But then things eventually cooled off. But there after that too, there were like over 250 universities and colleges started African American studies programs, and then of course, as you know, um, after that, there became more and more interest in family reunions and then tracing, ancestry,
Yes,
which is how
genealogy really
ancestry.com. Yeah,
became
Family
more.
Search was
Yeah.
around. I think it started like in the 1800s, but Ancestry.com and all the others, they are a result really of roots. I mean, Henry Louis Gates, Professor Henry Louis Gates acknowledged that finding your roots is a result of Alex Haley's roots.
Yeah, he really broke some ground.
Yeah.
And you know, not there are people who are on an outstanding level, like really life changing,
Hmm.
generational
Hmm.
life changing. And Alex Haley writing the book Roots and then the series, it was a change. I don't know if people would be as informed about what happened during that period. And it's interesting that some white people, I'll say some white people, are like not offended or they feel put upon that we're showing what actually happened.
Yeah.
It's not like a made up story. This is what happened to our ancestors for
Mm.
generations. It wasn't a one off, it wasn't one person, it
Mm.
was millions of people. And so you can't just sweep that under the rug. Um, you, I don't, nobody's blaming the people who live now for it, but we're not
Mm.
going to let it, we're not going to act like our history doesn't matter. Everybody else's history matters, so ours
Yeah.
matters too. And to us, and it's as American as anything. It's really, truly American.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Alex Haley talks in the book about the number of white people that came up to him after he wrote it and said, thank you for writing this because they felt like they were educated about the history,
Mm-hmm.
in a better way, especially about slavery.
Mm,
And he said that they didn't, seem, they didn't seem like they were guilty or angry. They just appreciated, those that did approach him. And it's still that same educational tool. I think Roots is still a great way. As a matter of fact, I did a discussion guide to accompany the book that for classrooms and for book clubs to be able to talk about roots and slavery and heritage.
Yeah, I think if a
That's well, no,
if
I
a
was just going to say that was interesting because right now with so much of our history being pulled out of museums and out of classrooms because the current administration doesn't want white kids to feel bad.
Yeah.
It's interesting that when this movie first aired, yes, there were some people who felt bad, but there were so many people who said that they learned.
Yes,
So, I mean,
exactly.
it's just kind of interesting how perspectives kind of change a little bit.
And I'm seeing a little bit of that now from some people I encounter that are white that have read the book and say they enjoy it and say they appreciate it. So it's interesting that that discussion is still there today, especially when amongst white people.
yeah, I think if you any classroom, like I would say maybe middle school or high school, I don't know,
Mhm.
social studies or history, showing roots really tells you the whole story. There's enough in roots for a whole semester.
Yeah, and speaking of which,
Yeah.
there is a professor at the University of Tennessee Martin, Dr. Henry Giles, and I interviewed her in the book. She has a curriculum whose core is around roots. Like she'll show the miniseries, and after each episode, they'll discuss the students and write about what they saw.
This I mean it's a great teaching tool. Now tell us a little bit about part roots part two and how you think which wasn't as successful in terms of just the groundbreaking part of it, but it was a very good depiction of what happened after
No, you're
uh,
saying is this Roots the next generation?
yeah, the next
Okay.
generation,
Yeah. Well,
not
maybe.
the remake. I didn't really like the remake,
Yeah.
but Rhonda liked it. But to me, you can't. It's like when you remake a classic song and
Mhm.
you can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
But
it's
you have to take it for what it is. Like I
Mhm.
said, it's never going to have the heart
Yeah.
that the first one did, but I felt there was value in the remake because of the historical perspective and how they were actually trying to teach. This is kind of how it was, this is how they were able to make the book, or this was their
Mhm.
ability back then. Now that we've learned a bit more about Africa, we've learned a bit more about the Mandinka warriors.
Mhm.
Let's incorporate that into the remake, and that's the reason why I liked it, just for what it was. But I'll
Yeah.
always have a heart for the original.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to answer your question, Ms. Richardson, I really enjoyed um, the Roots the Next Generation because I thought it really completed what Alex Haley had started. And I thought James Earl Jones did a great job playing
He did.
Alex Haley. And of course, that's that, iconic scene where he does find, the descendant, the griot, who's able to really retrace what his aunts and Grandma Cynthia had told him on the porch when he was, taking notes. And then this griot who has, as the history is told, close to 500 years of tribal history in his mind that he can repeat. And so he starts repeating these reigns. And Alex Haley, I don't know, I'm assuming this is really the case. I don't think it was just dramatization, but he's about to fall asleep. And then
Right.
he hears the griot say he went to make a drum to get wood for a drum and he never returned. And so you see James Earl Jones going through his notes and then he starts repeating it and then he says, I found you, you old African, I found you. And when I interviewed Blair Underwood for the book, he actually went back and traced some of his history and he recalled, he said when he found his cousin, it was like James Earl Jones, Alex Haley finding his, his connection. And he was like, I found you. And those are just scenes that, like in the original, that I just will never forget, and I think that resonates with a lot of people as well.
Yeah, my daughter who's 30 now really loved them both, but she really liked the love story between Bertha and Alex.
Oh,
The
okay.
played by
Yeah.
Cara, what's her name? Her last name is Cara, isn't it? The one who played Bertha in the Roots of Next Generation.
Okay.
Irene Cara. She
Yeah,
played
yeah,
that,
yeah.
Oh yeah, Irene Cara, yeah.
and her
Yeah,
husband was play. I can't think of his name, but he played her Alex,
yeah.
and he played Alex Haley all the way through.
I think he
Well, no,
played.
he played the dad. He
Yeah,
played
he
Alex
played.
Haley's
He
dad.
played. Yeah, Palmer Haley,
Yes,
Alex
yes.
Haley's
He
father.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was
I
Alex
forgot
Haley's
his
father.
name. I think it's Dorian Haywood.
Yes, yes,
Something
yes.
like that. Yeah,
Yes,
Harwood.
yes.
Yeah.
Haywood Harwood.
You know
Yes.
what? You know what's interesting. Speaking of the actors, there are not many that are still alive. You know,
Yeah.
we lost some legends. I think a couple of years ago with James Amos
And
and
James L. Jones, John
James.
Amos.
Yeah, and then
John
and of
Amos.
course
James
Louis
L. Jones
Gossett.
died not too long ago.
Yeah. So that's why. And Vin Marine, I interviewed him, and he's like probably in his late 70s, but he's still Chicken George. He's
He
still
really
very,
played that
very
part.
spry. And
He
I think
played.
he's actually doing plays in Las Vegas. He's still doing stuff. And of course, as you know, Leslie Uggams is still really doing stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
I think she even got close or was maybe, I don't know if she was nominated for American Fiction with Jeffrey Wright, the book that was adapted from Percival Everett's Eraser book.
Oh, okay.
But she did a great role in that. I think she was with Tracy Ellis Ross and Sterling Brown. But she's still doing stuff, and it's just great to see.
Yeah, the people from the original Roots, they're not that many left because Madge Sinclair, wasn't her name?
She passed away a few years
Passed
ago.
away
Hmm.
quite a bit,
Yeah,
quite a
yeah,
while ago.
Well,
yeah.
LeVar Burton
Um,
is still active.
He's
he's
still
still
very active.
because he was
Yeah,
young at the time.
yeah. He was
That
only
was his first
19
role,
when I think he
wasn't
did.
it?
So what now?
Wasn't that his first real
It
acting?
was. Yeah, he was straight
Yeah.
out of college. I think he was only a freshman in college at the time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he that really is what he's known for, even though it's been 50 something years.
Yeah.
But here's the
Well,
thing, though, too.
and Reading Rainbow now. Reading
Well,
Rainbow.
Reading Rainbow. Don't y'all forget Star Trek.
That's
Yep.
true.
Star
Well,
Trek
you're
too.
right. I'm not a
Yeah, yeah,
Trekkie,
yeah.
but he was in that.
He says that there are three crowns in his cap, or if
Okay.
and the first one is Roots, the other one is I think Star Trek, and the other one is Reading Rainbow.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I noticed that he put Roots first.
Yeah, it was first. And that launched his career.
Yeah, it did.
He became a household name
Hmm.
after that. Um, but I'm glad that you've written such a extensive book on roots, and I had my TBR is my shelves and bins and baskets are so full because of this show. But I wanted to get my own copy because I just think Roots was just so well done.
Yeah,
It's it's withstood the test of time. It's a
yeah,
classic and it's a major educational tool. And it was the whole, even though it was some horrific things that happened, you could feel the dignity of the actors through the whole thing.
yeah. I mean, I
Uh,
think
I
it
agree.
just punctuates the resiliency of us. You
yeah,
know, yeah.
yes,
And I love too how it showed the nurturing of Black women in particular, like through Cicely Tyson, who played his mother, through Maya Angelou, who played his grandmother. This was in the
mhm,
original,
right.
and just others who, yeah, the men provided that warrior direction, but it was still he still received, nurturing from his mother and father. I mean, his mother and grandmother.
Yeah, and even Richard Roundtree, who wanted to
Yeah,
marry Kizzy,
yeah,
but she said, we know who we are, and
yeah,
you
yeah.
don't, and we're not compatible because of
I
that.
have to mention this. There was someone who they were just talking about famous scenes, and one of them that stood out was when O.J. Simpson chased down Kunta. He chased him down,
Oh
but
wow.
again that was the earlier O.J.
Right.
Yeah, the early OJ. I
Yeah,
almost forgot he was
the
in that
Hurts
movie.
the Hurts O.J.
Yeah, he
But
was running through the airport in those Hertz commercials.
yeah, yeah,
So he
yeah,
could.
and so he
I
was
don't know if
running to
they
chase
came
him.
before or after.
Yeah.
I have to look that up to see if
Yeah.
he's running them routes first or through the airports first.
Yeah. That was funny.
So anyway, Lucas, thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for writing this important book and keeping roots in the public mind, in the zeitgeist. Because we want to keep the history alive.
Mm,
It's the definitive work
absolutely.
on that period. And so thank you again. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great night.
You too.
Before we bring on our final guest, I didn't talk, Rhonda, about our trip to Atlanta because I said I would wait until you came on so we could just give like a minute on our time at the National Book Club Conference. So I thought it really is like a family reunion
Yeah, it's
almost.
like a family reunion. I
Mhm.
mean, we get to connect with authors who we only see on social media, and then we finally get to see them face to face. There were some authors I had not seen in years, and it was really nice to connect with them. And then we meet new people,
Yeah.
and that we hope will become contacts. I mean, which reminds me, I have a lot of people I need to reach out to this week.
Yeah, we book people for the show from there. A lot of times it's easier to book somebody face to face than it is to try to track down their email and all that. So we book people, and then we meet new people that we didn't know about who would make great guests for the show. And Curtis puts on Curtis Bond. He puts on a first class event. The gala is fantastic. The whole thing is good. And if you want to see a picture of me and Rhonda in our formal gala attire, you can go to either of our personal Facebook pages. And it was fun. We had a good time.
Yeah,
So
it was fun.
yeah. So we travel to places as partners in crime. And that's one of the places we've been to. This is our second year there. And I'm pretty sure we're going next year again. So our final guest is no stranger to the show. And she's just doing all kinds of stuff.
I
We
hope
wanted to
y'all
have
aren't
her
sleepy
back.
because she about to wake y'all up.
Yeah. She's energetic. One thing, she's on Pacific time. So it's only 6:30 where she is. So she's just now like at dinner time. Whereas Rhonda's at bedtime almost for her. I'm in wind down time after the show. So anyway, Joylynn, welcome back to Black Authors Matter TV.
I'm glad to be here. And I'm in Dallas, Texas right now. So
Are
I'm on
you?
Central talking about me behind my back, in front of my face.
I mean, as long as it's in front of your face, you know what we're saying.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's true. Now, what are you in Dallas? What are you doing in Dallas?
My daughter lives here, so I like to say I'm bi-coastal now because
Okay.
she's having my second grandbaby. So I'm so excited about that.
Oh, wonderful. I didn't know you had the first one, what brought her to Texas?
Her job.
Okay.
Her job brought her to Texas, and then the job that brought her to Texas, it went away. So now she's actually working in higher education. She's an admissions administrator, so she loves that all the same.
Okay. What school?
I can't think of the name of the school. They are actually even building one in Ohio as well, which I'm originally from Ohio, and Columbus. So I'm from Columbus, Ohio. So I
Okay.
told her we might have to move back there. She
Okay.
said Vegas is too expensive. She don't want to come back.
Okay. It's hot too. I mean, it's hot in
Wait a
Houston.
minute now.
It's hot.
This Dallas moist heat. No, we got some dry heat in Las
You do
Vegas.
have dry heat,
This
but
this
it's
stuff
like an
is
oven. It's like an air fryer. When you go when you go to Las Vegas?
I got braids here. I got braids here because y'all know I usually wear my afro.
You
Well,
do,
the last time I wore my afro, I end up looking like a treasure trove. So next.
See, I love my afro, but it only lasts for about 2.2 seconds, and then the moisture starts to get to it, and then
As
it
soon
starts
as
to
you walk
shrink
out,
up.
Yeah.
as soon as you walk
Next thing you
outside.
know, my afro is like this.
Texas is wrong for this humidity. See, in Vegas, we dry, we still smell good.
I don't know about that, but anyway, I like my time in Vegas. You know, I think I got a heat stroke when I was there. I went on this boat ride. I went to the Hoover Dam, and you know, I guess the sun is so intense.
Yes.
And then we went on a boat, like a river ride, and I felt sick. So, you know, but we enjoyed our time in Vegas. It's just that part. Vegas has had so much entertainment, and I don't gamble. So I don't one nigga. $20 is the most I'm going to spend on any gambling. And once it's gone, that's it. And the way the slot machines
I
are,
say
it goes,
$50.
I don't 20.
You a high roller, Rhonda. You a high roller.
Yeah.
You know, I'm rich, you know, so I can spend a couple more dollars.
Say when you the more you spend, the more you get sucked in to thinking you're gonna leave there with some money. It's better to stop it at 20 because you know the reason that Las Vegas thrives is because people leave their money there. It's not because people win money. It's
Exactly.
they leave their money.
That's exactly right. But you know, $20 goes so fast. That's why I
exactly.
Yeah. So I mean, we be out of there real quick.
Yeah, it's quick. It is quick. Anyway, Joylynn, I've been hearing so many good things about you.
Leave Texas alone, Joylynn.
Okay.
Yeah, we you know, in Texas, we love. If you've been in Texas for any length of time, about 20 years, you become a Texan, and there's an attitude. There is an attitude, and I didn't. It took me a while. It took me about 20 years because I was resisting until my husband's a native, and I said, you know what, you know, stuff you say is just, you know, it's just a little bit too, you know, Texas isn't all that. But then when you stay here a while, Texas is all that. So anyway, you've been really setting the world on fire with 2 different book deals with 2 different types of books. And I wanted the audience and me to hear about what you're doing, how that came about. I know you post when things happen, like when you get awards and things like that. But I don't know if it's unprecedented or not. You want, as far as I could understand, you got a book deal with fiction and you got a book deal with nonfiction.
Yes, traditional book deal.
Book deal.
Yes.
And that's great. I mean, I hadn't heard anybody else even try to do that. Normally it's one or the other.
Yeah, and I would not recommend it. I don't know what I got myself into.
What would you not recommend? The 2 book deals at one time?
Yes, 2 different book deals at one time, 2 different genres, 2 different names. So I'm doing my nonfiction under my Joylynn M. Ross, which is what I do all of my, you know, literary consulting, my publishing coaching, my master literary educator, and even, you know, as a business subject matter expert in storytelling. So all of that is under Joylynn M. Ross. You have to be that brand. I always say, don't build a brand, be a brand. And then there's E.N. Joy. Everybody needs joy. That's my fiction. If you remember the 14 series New Day Divas, well, it's been almost a decade since we've last revisited those divas. So I'm having to, feels like, resurrect E.N. Joy. I'm like, y'all still out there? Hashtag boss readers. Y'all still out there?
Well, you probably have to pick up some new readers as well.
Yeah, yes, definitely. But it is, let me just put it this way. I no longer just need a therapist and a counselor. I just call my daughter's like, refer me to a psychiatrist, or as Ricky used to say on I Love Lucy, give me a phychiatrist. Give me a phychiatrist right now.
Well, AI, some of the versions of AI can help with flushing out some of these ideas. Not writing the book, but flushing out the ideas. Now, Rhonda
Outlining
is the
brainstorming.
AI expert. I'm learning from her. I picked up some tips while we were in Atlanta this past weekend, but I hand it off to her because I can only talk so much. I can only say a few words about. I don't really understand
my entire business is content creation. So for insurance purposes, I can't have an AI footprint with my business. So when I mentioned I'm a business subject matter expert, so I work with entrepreneurs, business owners. We work with federal government agencies, nonprofits doing business cohorts. And whenever we have to do AI for business owners, we have a colleague, a team member, Whitney Barkley, who we bring in because she does not let people do lazy AI. And so she knows all of that. And what she suggested I do is, for business purposes, automation, get a whole new device and begin there. But right now, all of my devices, my content, my clients have a level of trust. If you were to ever be sued, you have to make sure that you can prove that you did everything in your power to protect their work, secure their work, that it wasn't AI, that you didn't use AI to edit it. So for insurance purposes, and my business will be 26 this December, not doing it.
That's interesting that you say that federal government doesn't like you to use AI because
no, not the federal government. I said I do work for the federal government.
Well, no,
so
I get it.
we have to do AI for business owners, and so I do have a partner, Whitney Barkley. She comes in and she handles that piece. Me personally, I can't have an AI footprint, or I choose not to because of insurance purposes. But
no,
our cohorts, our business owners,
Federal is using AI though.
Oh, I didn't say they weren't. I just said they're
no,
clients.
I get it. Yeah. I get it. I'm just saying federal is using AI. They're using AI big time. In fact, they're getting on my nerves with as much as they use it.
And actually, federal is using it to weed out people who keep using it to fill out their job applications. I was on a panel a couple of months ago, and the government was on there. They had their HR department on there, and they were saying how they pulled the apps that we could tell were AI. They didn't even have a chance. So a lot of the federal government agencies are now really, stickling down on how it's used. So they said they poured out like 160 applications that they could tell was AI.
Right, because what people are doing is they're letting AI just write the thing.
Lazy AI.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say. It's the lazy AI.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is a correct way to use it. And even if you're going to use it to help you with your resume, you still have to read over it. You still have to make sure it's personalized. The reason why a lot of these resumes are getting pulled is because they're letting AI write it, and it all sounds the same.
Yeah.
There's nothing in there that actually mirrors what you actually did.
Yeah. But those who your entire business is content creation, it's writing, it's helping other people. Just know the risk. Do your research. Talk to your insurance companies. Talk to your attorneys. That's something I teach in my Build Your Book Business program, because you want to make sure all T's are crossed, all I's are dots, because you don't want a simple mistake or AI footprint to smash a business you spent, like me, 26 years building.
Yeah, it can cause problems if it's like that woman. Was it HarperCollins?
No, that's Hachette.
Hachette. It was Hachette, where she lost her book deal because they said the book was AI.
Well, I'm sorry. I love her, but I watched that man's whole 2 3 hour video, and he had a lot of compelling evidence as to why her book was probably AI written.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Yeah, people
um,
need to be careful. When we were in Atlanta, Rhonda showed me a brochure that was clearly written and which produced all the graphics were produced with ChatGPT. To me, it's so
mhm.
obvious. It's nothing. It's nothing
I,
creative or original.
and
But they had
yeah,
the wrong word in there, and so you have to check. Instead of
yeah.
inflamed, they had inflamed. They had two M's in
Oh,
inflamed.
wow,
So, and
wow.
this was the actual brochure that had already been
Mhm.
printed.
Yeah,
So you
and
have to read the stuff
you
over. You
do,
can't just put it
and
in there and then.
And let me add something I teach my authors. You have to put a disclaimer and a clause in every agreement with every beta reader, every reviewer that you are securing, and every editor. And now you even have to do it with agents. That should be the first page on anything you are submitting. The first thing that needs to be on it is this is confidential. This is the property of ABC Company and you agree not to use it. These disclaimers need to be on everything you send. The beta readers are sending your stuff through AI to get the feedback, and agents are putting it through AI to see if it's AI. Make that make sense. So you have to put that disclaimer on everything. I make sure, like I said, your book is your business. You better treat it like one.
Yeah, now that is your first book. It's really a reprint of your original book as part of your book deal for the nonfiction book.
Yes, yes. The original version was Act Like an Author, Think Like a Business, Ways to Achieve Financial Literary Success. And this one, Your Book is Your Business, Money Making Sales Strategies, because what we learned during research and during the sales process with the reps is that authors are sick of books about marketing books. Teach me how
Hmm.
to sell a book. And some people will even say, well, you can't really sell a book unless you market it. And I usually tell them, don't let somebody tell you what you can't do just because they haven't figured out how to do it. I have, and I put it in here.
Okay, now your other books on your nonprofit, I mean not nonprofit, nonfiction.
Fiction
And
and
I'm
the
biting my
fiction.
tongue, nonprofit. I believe in profits, but uh
Yeah, I rebuke that in the name of Jesus.
the tongue. I don't believe in that. You know, anyway, your nonfiction. The other two books, what are they? Have you decided the content and titles for those? Are
they're
they going to
already
be along the
written.
same lines?
They're already written. I actually teach my annual course, Act Like an Author, Think Like a Business. And on day one, which now it's so much information, we have to teach it in 2 days. It's beyond the basics of publishing because who wants to be basic? And then day two is build your book business because now that I've taught you how to build your book, I have to teach you how to build your book business, literally, your structure, your taxes, the agreements you need, the disclaimers you need. We talked about AI. We talked about insurance, all of those different type of things. We're teaching about which websites you should get, the names of the websites, the different variations and things of that nature. So it's really strictly business. If your book is your business, treat it like a business by take care of business. And then day three is now that we done build a book, now that we done build the book business, businesses don't make money, people do. So now I'm going to be teaching you how to make money with your books as a publisher and with your role as an author and a creative. And that one is called Make a Living as a Writer. And so
Okay.
each book that the publisher bought is kind of like an introduction to each course because each course, if you get the hard copy, it's like 147. If you get the digital copy with actual hyperlinks that take you right to where you need to be,
Hmm.
that might be like 397 or 497, but the audio visual where I'm in your face, they call me the literary Joe Jackson. So I'm in your face, I'm in your ear, And I'm really walking you through this. I'm ad-libbing. I'm giving you storytelling. I'm giving you facts. I believe that you should not teach anybody anything you have not done yourself or anything you have not helped someone else do. So when I'm giving you testimonies in my book, I'm not going to talk about James Patterson. I'm not going to talk about Terry McMillan. I'm going to talk about me, how I sold over 1 million copies. I'm going to talk about my clients, how they sold over 1 million copies, how they received a $200,000 grant to throw a festival. Everybody I'm going to talk about is real. And it's all about money. So if you don't trust me, you don't really want to drop a G on me. So we're going to start with a $20 book. So that's what each book is in the 3-book deal as kind of a lead in to my courses.
Okay. Now, before we get into the fiction for E.N. Joy, I didn't know E.N. stood for. What did you say? What did you say?
Everybody needs joy.
Everybody needs joy. I just thought it
Oh,
was
that's
E.N.
cute. I never
knew
thought
that.
about what the
I
EN
never
stood
knew
for.
that. I just thought it was initials. So, did you have an agent to do your book deals?
No, I didn't have an agent to do my book deals. I believe, and I actually teach a course on this, that relationship currency is priceless and your connections are your biggest asset. I believe in showing up, being in the place, being in the space, not looking for what you can get, but what you can give. Most people will tell you before you go to a conference or any type of networking event, be intentional about what you want to take away from that conference. Well, I'm intentional about what I want to give. 80% of the people there are there to take. So I'm going to be one of the 20% who stands out already. So I'm going to make sure I'm there to give. I'm going to be a resource before I am anything else. I'm a resource before I'm an author. I'm a resource before I'm a literary consultant. I'm a resource before I'm a publishing coach. So by the time you've become that brand, like I say, don't build a brand, be a brand. They have this expectation of you. You no longer have to work a room. The room works its way to you. And so with that being said, I was at an event and I had been tapped to teach a course. So if you taught a course there, one of the things you were allowed to do was put your books in the bookstore. And so I walked up to somebody who happened to have my book in their hand. And I was over their shoulder and I said, you know what? I hear that's the best book in this bookstore. And they was like, you are the second person to say that. And then when they looked up and saw it was me, they was like, Joylynn. And then they said, but you know what? You really are the second person. That lady standing right in line, she said it. And she was listening to the conversation. She said, absolutely. I've been in this business 30 years. All I did was flip through your book and knew it was the best author resource here. There are things in there that authors should be doing that we haven't even thought about. So she bought the book, we took pictures. Little did I know, she was the acquisitions editor for Microcosm Publishing. So fast forward, I'm getting an offer for a book deal to republish Act Like an Author, Think Like a Business. So I'm like, okay, well, when do y'all want me to take that version down? Because I don't want it to compete with y'all's new version. They said, oh, honey, it won't compete with the new version. And they were right. I wanted to burn every copy of that book I had. They poured a me on me. As an editor, I'm coming in and I'm looking for everything that's wrong. That's just me. I just want to get the stuff that's wrong out. I want to call it out. Let's handle it. So they poured a me on me. So they made me go deep. They made me really bring out the storytelling. So it's almost like a nonfiction resource memoir kind of something. I don't know, but all I know, there is so much more of me that I poured in there. For example, the testimonies. This is proof that I am not just telling you to do something. I'm an expert. So as an expert, you can't think, you can't hope, you can't feel, you can't believe. You need to know the stuff you are sharing works. And people don't want your fake humbleness. They want receipts. So that's what I give them in this book. I give them my receipts. If you want my humbleness, it's in my story and the success God has granted me because of my story and in spite of it. But I'll be real arrogant.
What is fake humbleness, ma'am?
Fake humbleness is all of that. I would do this whether I got paid or not. And then when you don't get paid, you crying on social media. You know what it is. You just wanted me to say it. Y'all just like me to be
That's
bad
an
guys.
example of fake humility. But okay, yeah, I hear you. I try not to watch that kind of stuff. I try not to waste time on foolishness, but sometimes it can be a good we all need to laugh.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can watch some things just for some comic relief, but
why they crying?
yeah, but my thing is tell people that you overcame the whatever made you cry. Talk about that part. But just
Yes.
crying, I guess some people might need sympathy. Maybe they need sympathy.
Some people love that. Some people just love living in that little raggedy neighborhood called victimhood. But I be telling y'all, come on over here where the grass is greener on the side of freedomhood.
Yeah.
I'm not saying get over your problem. I'm not saying get over your challenge. I'm saying get through it. A lot of people say life happens to you. Life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you. Neither. Life happens through you. Let it flow through you. Ain't nothing supposed to be all clogged up in here. That's why we writing books. That's why we're putting our stories in here. What's inside of us is somebody else's portion. And as long as we ain't feeding them, they starving to death.
Okay, we only have like 2 minutes left.
On this. Y'all know I have the most fun.
We only have 2 minutes left. So I want you to just briefly tell us about your fiction book deal.
Okay, my fiction book deal, it started off as a collab with the New York Times bestselling author. And I brought the idea, and I was really just trying to pitch the idea, kind of like, just sell the idea, to sell the proposal. And they were like, let's just do this together because you have the plot down, you have the ideal down. So I put my thought, ideals, and concept on paper. They put their thought, ideal, and concept on paper. And I can say this on camera because I said that to them. I was like, this one feels a little Tubi. And what's that other little show that the Bad Girls is on? What's that other channel?
The Bad Girls.
The Bad Girls Club. What's that little channel?
VH1?
No.
TV1, VH1?
No, I don't know about the Bad
MTV?
Girls.
No, it's some
Bravo.
other little...
Bravo.
No, it's some little
freeform. That's a new one.
No, throw it in the comments, y'all. Throw it. Anybody who know about the baddies, throw the baddies in the comment. What it's like some, network. You got a lot of the hip hop of Hollywood people. They go over there to do their little thing on it. But nonetheless, I wanted to be a little bit more BET her, Wix with a little bit of Lifetime.
Okay.
A dab a Hallmark movie, I wanted to take all of my pen names basically and roll it up into this literary feast. So to make a long story short, I said, I don't know if I pulled a Lauryn Hill and went solo or if I got kicked out the group like Eddie Kane. All I know is only my name is on my book now. And have
you ever considered a second career as a stand-up comedian? But that's a good analogy. But
it's called Getting the Man You Pray For. Prey by best-selling author E.N. Joy. So I'm going to need y'all to go out and pre-order that so that when it drops,
I saw that book cover.
Boom.
I saw that book cover and I love the name.
I like that. I like that. It's a play on words. That's really good. Joylynn, we always really need an hour for you because you have so much information and it's so entertaining. But we're at the very end of our show. We're getting ready to play our outro. So thank you so much. Congratulations again on your double book deal. And I want to be like you when I grow up.
Thank you so much. Y'all know that I wait all year for my inbox. Like when they gonna invite me on this show, they know I had the mostest fun, the bestest fun. Come on, y'all let my year end on a sad note.
Oh, goodness.
So thank y'all. I thank y'all both, and thank y'all for the impact you are making in the literary community, in the publishing industry, the publishing world. Thank you for my success that you've been a part of and impacted, Gwen, especially even when you had your store, Kush City.
Yeah.
So it goes way back.
Way
Rhonda,
back.
we go way back.
back.
Okay, like that's my mama. So
Way back.
yes. Bye, y'all.
Okay, have a great night.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's the end of our show. Next week, we'll be announcing the finalists for the Black Authors Matter Children's Book Awards. So that will be in the second half of the show. So stay tuned for that. And that'll be it for this week. Again, all of the vendor space for the National Black Book Festival is sold out. So for anybody interested in having a vendor table, you'll need to look to 2027. So anyway, that's it for this week. I'm Gwen Richardson signing off.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Lawson. Have a wonderful evening and a great week.
Thank you for tuning in, and join us next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern for another edition of Black Authors Matter TV.